Metanomics is brought to you by Remedy Communications and Dusan Writers Metaverse.
It is now time for my regular closing comment, connecting the dots. To close today's show on law and virtual worlds, I want to talk about a new service that raises new questions about, that raises some fascinating new legal questions, and I also believe may dramatically change our understanding of both virtual worlds and the World Wide Web more generally. Last week, the company Rocketon announced its alpha launch of their new service, Blurp. Wagner James Au, writing in GigaOM, refers to Blurp as a social network that looks like it swallowed the entire web. And as far as I can tell, that's how Blurp's developers think of it as well. Well, art critics disagree all the time, not just with one another, but also with the artists themselves on how to interpret their own work. And so I'm going to do the same here. With all due respect, I think Mr. Au and Rocketon itself are failing to appreciate exactly what Blurp may represent. The key execs of Rocketon, Steve Hoffman and Eric Hayashi, were on Metanomics back in July to talk about their original service called Rocketon, which places a transparent layer over any website. And as you can see in our video archive of that show, the layer's filled with avatars and interactive toys and tools. For example, we went to Coca-Cola.com and saw a Rocketon vending machine dispense soda in cans that looked tantalizingly familiar, but were not, in fact, Coca-Cola branded cans. Now, rumor has it that Rocketon is having some membership problems, and I wouldn't be surprised, because I don't know how much avatars and casual games add in terms of value to web browsing. But with Blurp, I think that the makers of Rocketon are onto something. Blurp isn't a social network that swallowed the web. Rather, it's a virtual world based on user-generated content layered over the web. So this is a big idea, bigger than Steve and Eric seem to think. And to make my point, let's imagine that we're creating a Blurp layer for the Metanomics community. It might work like this. Anyone who joined our Metanomics group in Blurp would be able to go to any page on the web and see commentary from any other members on any website with videos, links to related stories, voting tools. How about the technology section of the New York Times? Click on a link and see a window for comments from the Metanomics community. See the related videos. Yeah, that sounds pretty much like a social network. But let's take it a step further. Now let's go out and hire experts to provide content. Journalists, venture capitalists, insiders. We pay them not just to write commentary, but also to construct guided tours of websites, so someone who's interested in virtual worlds or some related topic can be led by the hand by an expert through content that already exists on the web. Well, once we talk about hiring experts, we'd better have a revenue source, and fortunately Blurp provides us with a very handy tool. We simply we create new widgets that will cover up the ads and the sponsored links that are on the websites we direct our members to, we also direct them to revenue-generating content of our own. So Blurp now isn't sounding a whole lot like a social network to me now. No, it sounds to me more like a customizable web experience that is controlled not by the people who created the websites, but by someone who's intercepting all of that content and imposing their own vision on it, and their own ads. Now, Metanomics is a small community, but we can think bigger. What if every large, politically oriented group creates a Blurp layer with content on news and opinion pages written by their friends and their foes? Arm your community with talking points by allowing them to go to a candidate's website and see point-by-point responses to everything on it. And of course, plaster your opponent's site with ads for your own cause, with pay-per-click links lining your own pockets, not theirs. So with good content written by people with some star power, it's not hard for me to see people preferring a blurped web experience to an unblurped one. So this leaves me with a few questions. First, can Blurp execute their software well enough to be a mainstream success? If you take a look at the comments on articles written about Blurp on TechCrunch and GigaOM, you see that the dustbins of venture capitalists' offices are filled with services that promised something similar to Blurp. One commenter, Wayne Yeager, says, "This is one of those good, obvious ideas that has thwarted everyone who's tried it." So this is clearly all easier said than done. It will be interesting to see if Blurp can pull it off. My second question is, what legal challenges are we going to see? My understanding is that Blurp's developers and users are well within their legal rights to follow the business strategy I'm proposing, even though it has basically the effect of pirating content and modifying it with no permission from the creators. But it's legal because the user has explicitly opted in to see this customized experience. If Blurp takes off, I don't imagine websites that are aggressively targeted by business or political competitors are going to sit on their hands. I'd ask today's guest, Jim Gatto, about the legal challenges we're likely to see, but as he represents Blurp, he isn't in a position to address these questions publicly. My final question: are internet users prepared to hand tremendous power and personal information over to yet another service? Viewing the web through a Blurp layer means sharing your entire travel history with Blurp's makers, and quite likely sharing it with the unknown users who created that layer as well. How ready are users to take this possible risk to privacy and security? Well, if you watched last week's show about the widespread ignorance of cybersecurity issues, you'll probably agree with me that most people won't think about it twice or even once. So, wait, I do have one more question. Blurp? You had to call it Blurp? If this service does get traction, I look forward to hearing stories from all of you Metanomics viewers about how you explain to your CFO that she should spend money to create a team of blurpers, or explain to your campaign managers that it's either Blurp or be blurped. I understand Linden Labs founders were advised not to use the name Second Life because it just begged people to say Second Life is for people with no first life. I think the name actually has been a hindrance for both consumer and enterprise adoptions. Blurp has real potential for serious business applications, and perhaps they'll have a chance to rebrand themselves before it's too late.